Om Ayahi Bharade Devi Traksare Brahmavadini Gayatri Chandasang Mata Brahmajani Namastute. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrittar Ma Amritangamaya Aviravir Maedhi Rudra Jatte Dakkhinamukam Te Namang Pahinityam Te Namang Pahinityam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Divine Mother of the Universe, reveal Thyself in our heart and in our midst. We invoke Thy presence amidst us. Thou art the supreme word of the Scriptures. Thou art the embodiment of knowledge and liberation. Thou art the supreme bridge to immortality. Lead us from unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death, disease and suffering to immortality. Manifest Thyself in us through and through, and protect us with Thy compassionate face. Om peace, peace be unto us, peace be unto all living beings. Our subject this morning is the practices for devotion. I'll read to you a few lines from the inspired talks of Swami Vivekananda. Monday, June 24th. Extreme love to God is bhakti or devotion, and this love is the real immortality, getting which a man becomes perfectly satisfied, sorrows no loss, or is never jealous, knowing which a man becomes mad. My master used to say, this world is a huge lunatic asylum where all men are mad, some after money, some after women, some after name or fame, and a few after God. I prefer to be mad after God. God is the philosopher's stone that turns us into gold in an instant. The form remains, but the nature is changed. The human form remains, but no more can we hurt or sin. Thinking of God, some weep, some sing, some laugh, some dance, some say wonderful things, but all speak of nothing but God. Prophets preach, but the incarnations like Jesus, Buddha, Ramakrishna can give religion. One glance, one touch is enough. That is the power of the Holy Ghost, the laying on of hands. The power actually transmitted to the disciples by the Master, the chain of Guru power. That is real baptism and has been handed down for untold ages. Bhakti or devotion cannot be used to fulfill any desires, itself being the check to all desires. The sage Narada gives these as a signs of devotion. When all thoughts, all words, all deeds are given up unto the Lord, and the least forgetfulness of God makes one intensely miserable, then love has begun. A man who has gone beyond social and scriptural usage is a sannyasi. When the whole soul goes to God, when we take refuge only in God, then we know that we are about to get His love. Obey the scriptures until you are strong enough to do without them. Then go beyond them. Books are not an end all. Verification is the only proof of religious truth. Each must verify for himself, and no teacher who says, I have seen, but you cannot, is to be trusted. Only the one who says, you can see too. All scriptures, all truths are Vedas in all times, in all countries, because these truths are to be seen, and anyone may discover them. When the sun of love begins to break on the horizon, we want to give up all our actions unto God. And when we forget Him for a moment, it grieves us greatly. Let nothing stand between God and your love for Him. Love Him, love Him, love Him. Let the world say what it will. Love is of three sorts. One that demands but gives nothing. Second is exchange. And the third is love without thought of return. Love like that of the moths for the light. Love is higher than work, than yoga, than knowledge. Work is merely a schooling for the doer. It can do no good to others. We must work out our own problem. The prophets only can show us how to work. What you think, you become. So if you throw your burden on Jesus, you will have to think of Him and thus become like Him. You love Him. Extreme love and highest knowledge are same. But theorizing about God will not do. We must love and work. Give up the world and all worldly things, especially while the plant is tender. Day and night think of God. Think of nothing else as far as possible. The daily necessary thoughts can all be thought through God. Eat to Him, drink to Him, sleep to Him, see Him in all. Talk of God to others. This is most beneficial. Get the mercy of God and His greatest children. These are the two chief ways to God. The company of these children of light is very hard to get. 5 minutes in their company will change your whole life. And you really want it enough, one will come to you. Presence of those who love God makes a place holy. Such is the glory of the children of God. They are He, and when they speak, their words are scriptures. The place where they have been becomes filled with their vibrations, and those going there feel them and have a tendency to become holy too. To such lovers there is no distinction of caste, learning, beauty, birth, wealth, occupation, because all are His. Give up all evil company, especially in the beginning. Avoid worldly company, that will distract your mind. Give up all me and mine. To Him who has nothing in the universe, the Lord comes. Cut the bondage of all worldly affections. Go beyond laziness and all care as to what becomes of you. Never turn back to see the result of what you have done. Give all to the Lord and go and think not of it. The whole soul pours in a continuous current to God. There is no time to seek money, name, fame, no time to think of anything but God. Then will come into our hearts that infinite, wonderful bliss of love. All desires but beads of glass. Love of God increases every moment and is ever new, to be known only by feeling it. Love is the easiest of all. It waits for no logic. It is natural. We need no demonstration, no proof. Reasoning is limiting something by our own minds. We throw a net, catch something, and then say that we have demonstrated it. But never, never can we catch God in a net. Devotion is an approach to God. Major religions come under this approach. Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Zoroastrianism. That is the major path they suggest. It is the path of the heart, not logic but love, not reason but faith, not effort but grace. Once I asked Houston Smith, the noted author, whose book, Religions of Man, is a textbook in most of the colleges of comparative religion in the United States. In the book, in the first chapter, he devoted to Hinduism. Next Buddhism, next Christianity. I met him in our St. Louis Center, where he was one of the speakers in the memorial service of the late Swami of that center. So during luncheon I said, Professor Smith, you devoted quite a section of your book to Hinduism, but you have given less space to Christianity. So he humorously said, Swami, I learned from my teacher, Christianity is a mass of bhakti yoga. So that I already dealt in my chapter on Hinduism. So the major religions teach devotion. Its philosophy is natural, human, convincing. The view of the ultimate, some say it is formless, immutable, absolute Brahman, the Upanishads and others describe. Some think that description of the ultimate is very cold, distant, indifferent to human concern. But here, the ultimate is a person who is father or mother of all fathers and mothers, who cares for his creation, who suffers for his beings, and who descends as divine incarnation. The cosmology, which is another aspect of religion, where from the universe came. Advaita Vedanta says creation is a fact, not an act. God alone abides. The world is illusory. It's a dream. But the path of devotion says the world is real. His creation is real. His creation is a divine sport. He out of himself creates the world of souls, world of matter. And he wants the created souls to join him in a sport. A sport is temporary. So also this world. So created soul are portions of God. It is not illusory or a mirage. It is his kingdom. The connection between soul and God is organic, not philosophy. How does he create? Out of himself. God is the sum total of all souls. He is the sum total of all bodies. The universe is his body. Immortal souls are a portion of God, taken care of by God. And each soul reflects his glory. Question of suffering. Some maintain that disobedience to God. Some, our ego, our ignorance. Path of devotion says it is the refusal of the individual soul to join the play he has set. The role assigned to each one of us in this world stage. Some he has made father, some mother, some brother, some sisters. Some clown, some bad, some good. A drama. In a drama we need different characters, but each highlighting one thing, the glory of God. Suffering is due to the, as Christian teachings, is the prodigal son who forgot his loving father. He sent us to this world to do some errand, but we forgot. We are floating around in the Broadway or downtown. And the message he was carrying, the message of the kingdom of God, he forgot to deliver. Salvation is not merging with God or union, but communion. Salvation is homecoming, return of the prodigal son after discovering that nobody in this world can really love us or will bear with us or will suffer for us or stand by us. To discovery of this is called knowledge. The way is devotion, surrender, grace. Salvation is a gift of God. It cannot be generated by diet, exercise, tricks, and disciplines. It is the grace that draws us to God. We cannot feel drawn to God unless God draws us first. When He gives us auspicious desire to think of God, means He gave us signal that I love you. Sin is a separative existence, denial of God's love, staying away from His kingdom, and creating a kingdom of false hopes and desires. Bondage is inability to love. Essentially, liberation or salvation is the liberation of love. The psychology of devotion is, love is basically emotion. It is the commitment of the heart. Human nature wants to expand. All things of this life, what we enjoy, is because of the feeling. Essentially, religion is a matter of feeling, not thinking, not reasoning. The word LOVE, English word, Each one represents an idea. L represents longing. O represents oneness. And E represents ecstasy. But there is another word, V, standing between ecstasy and the other two, which is vanity. Love, instead of being cosmocentric, becomes egocentric and falls upon itself. Reason, action, breathing, posture cannot do it. Devotion is the master key that unlocks the door to heaven. It is the key to concentration of mind, meditation, knowledge, peace of mind, and renunciation. In order to concentrate, you must love the object. Without love or commitment of the heart, you don't feel. There are two commitments in matter spiritual, commitment of the head and the commitment of the heart. Commitment of the head is negative. It thinks, reasons. But reason has a problem. It begins with doubt. It ends in doubt also. It creates more questions than it can answer. A man of only reason is a troubled man. He does not feel. He gathers only information. Commitment of the heart makes our spiritual quest positive. It is not that I pray, meditate in order to have peace of mind. I do not meditate so that my cholesterol level will come down or I will avoid heart attack. Feel good. Wrinkles in the face will be overcome. These are byproducts. It makes the quest absorbing. In the beginning, we may begin with the head, then heart joins in. When the two join, the matter becomes extremely absorbing. Until then, you are meandering in the outer court. If you don't feel it, gathering information, it replaces discipline by liking. The heart is most important. Swami Vivekananda says, when there is a contradiction between the heart and the head, listen to the language of the heart. Liking is an important thing. Our life is guided by liking. A person who says that he does discipline, he does not go to the movie, he doesn't go to gambling, race course, he does not seek worldly company. But what he seeks, if a person has only I do not do, I do not see, I do not act, he's a sick person. There must be something what he does. That is love of God. Until then, a spiritual seeker is moved or moving by the word discipline, and which is very unpalatable and grinding. It is realistic. To say God created out of nothing is synonymous with telling which Vedanta says it is Maya. Bhakti Yoga says it is better to walk than jog when we are weak. God is God because He loves us. And His proof, He incarnates in order to come near us. But how this love will be generated? How to have devotion? First, devotion does not grow unless your mind is directed toward one. Concentration does not develop unless your subject is one single to the exclusion of others. That is called in Sanskrit Borono. Borono means you commit yourself, you choose. Obviously, there is a reference to Vedanta system which has many choices. That is called Ishtadevata in Vedanta. If God is like the infinite sky, and I am inside this hall, and my goal is to reach the infinite, or to get a glimpse of the sky, I can get at the best through the window. So the subject of adoration, worship, concentration is like a window. In Sanskrit called Ishtam. You can give that window, yoga systems, well, window does not need a name. You can call it any bay window, garden window. But there is an element of heredity, upbringing, culture. I can call that window, or I can make the window like a Buddha window, Krishna window. I can make it a cross, crescent. It doesn't matter. After all, names of God are like naming the nameless. But you must have one. And your relationship with other divine forms will go through that one. It is like in a family. Your special love for your father or mother. Your uncle is uncle because he is your father's brother. Or aunt is aunt because he is mother's sister. So your relationship goes through your ishtam. So you must choose one. Many people, they complain, oh, I do not have devotion. They do not have any commitment. Today doing Buddha, tomorrow Jesus. You'll find many Hindu homes, so many deities are sitting, not committed to any. So they think that, well, he doesn't depend upon me, why do I care for him? So it has to be one principle in a yogic worship. Concentration is the flow of the mind on a specific object continuously, consciously, deliberately. So one must choose Borono. Second is teacher. For two reasons. Transmission of power. Love of God comes, or devotion, by seeing a person who loves God. By simply reading book, it does not happen. The virtues of renunciation, purity, unless I see a person, it will be hard for us to believe that is possible. Same in the Bible teaching, that one cannot see the Father unless through the Son. The same idea being repeated. Who must awaken my soul to give the initial push. I may choose wrong. It has to be according to my capacity, my upbringing, my heredity, my temperament. It has to be selected. So that selection is done by that. That you meditate or pray to this. Otherwise, after 10 years, you may have a doubt that maybe I should do something else. So teacher. Then comes nishtha, one-pointed loyalty. I often say you need two things for devotion. Loyalty of a German shepherd and the tenacity of a bulldog. See, a dog is loyal. Even when the master forgets, he does not complain. Even if he forgot to give food, it wags its tail. That sort of loyalty to God is necessary to a Rishta Devata. And tenacity to pursue and persevere. You have to prove God that you love Him. How do you prove? That you are ready to take pains for His sake, ready to sacrifice for His sake. We test God every moment. He once in a while will test you. It's quite reasonable. If we test Him every 365 days and 365 minutes, anything goes wrong, we blame God. He once in a while tests how much you love Him. So it is called nishtha. Nishtha brings attachment. Attachment brings devotion. Devotion, the first stage, it is formal. Then as it progresses, it becomes intimate. So Ramakrishna says, first the formal prayer, a specific language, intonation, timing. Then it becomes formal prayer ends in concentrated prayer. Vedic Gayatri is called concentrated prayer. That time you do not need many other formalities. Concentrated prayer further becomes concentrated into Om, one word. Finally, Om merges in silence. Step by step. Then, silence brings mood. There is such a thing as spiritual mood, which is the precursor of samadhi, ecstasy. Mood brings brood. A worldly man broods on his worldly things. A seeker of God broods on God. And brood gradually takes the form of ecstasy. The world is forgotten. He sees God in himself and sees everywhere. Devotion brings taste of bliss, the fruit ultimate. The fruit must have a root. So growing devotion is like growing a plant. First, the soil must be ready, seed must be procured, which the teacher provides the seed. Then the plant sprouts. In the early stages, hedging must be done, weeding must be done. A little plant, in the beginning, this is necessary. Those who are very liberal from the first day, they never grow devotion. Orthodoxy is necessary. You can be liberal only when you have developed your root. Unless you had been orthodox before, you have nothing to be liberal about. Often a liberal, so-called universal person has no root, like a rolling stone, gathering no moss. So the hedging, in the beginning we need protection, injunctions, until the tree has grown with strong trunk and the large branches. Then this tree needs watering, but it's not the tap water, the water of your eyes. It needs fertilization. You cannot buy that from the store. Its fertilization is discrimination, renunciation, purity, the virtues. Then the tree begins to grow. Large branches, dark leaves. Those are physical and mental side. Strong trunk means physical side will improve. Good health, tranquility of mind. These are byproducts. Then comes flowers of purity, dispassion, self-sacrifice. These flowers have literal fragrance. They're not just mere concepts. Finally comes the fruit, which is the test of bliss. So that bliss, the first stage is little attachment, then liking, then devotion, then absorption. Many people, those who meditate, and they feel terrible trouble because they lack devotion. Often those whose subject of concentration is abstract, they will have a hard time to concentrate. Then, it does not say discipline. The practices are worship in a human way. The practices are called seva, serving the Lord. With eyes, with ears, with tongue, with head, with heart, with mind. Whole body and mind, they must join in this worship. So prayer, japa, meditation are all seva to the Ishtam and his created being. When you do prayer or repeat a sacred word, it is serving the Lord. It is the food of the Lord. When we meditate, that is also an offering called seva, out of love. By that you feel the presence of the Lord inside your Ishtam. And ultimately it will be prayer. With this seva, then comes merciless rejection of anything that stands in the way between your God and you. Next requirement is holy company. Simply by reading books and hearing tapes, devotion cannot grow. Company of the holy. You must have in your life somewhere to come into contact a person who loves God and who has sacrificed everything and staked his life for that. How to know a holy man? By coming near him, holy thoughts bubble up in your mind. That is the surest proof. In the Bhakti scripture, that is called Siddhi. Siddhi means japa siddhi, who had attained success in japa or concentrated prayer. By sitting near him, you will feel like doing prayer or japa. That is the sign. Without that, we cannot even think. Then, purity of food. Next requirement. The verse has a reference to one of the Upanishads. Ahara Suddhau Sattva Suddhi. Food is here both physical and mental. Through our 5 sense organs, we are drawing food. Organs of perception, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. And others are hands, feet, palate, organ of evacuation, generation. They must be pure. Food becomes contaminated by 3 reasons. One is called scientific purity, free from bacteria and disease. Second is qualitative purity. Certain foods by nature, they excite the passions and raw impulses, heightens body awareness and clouds the mind. The third contamination is food procured or served or cooked by a person of questionable moral character. These are to be avoided by a person seeking divorce. Here also it follows the yogic rules. Eating must be moderate. At one time, one should fill the stomach, half with food, 1/4 with water, and 1/4 should be kept for the passage of air. Food should be fresh, procured by not incurring any injury to any living beings as much as possible, and other contaminations to be avoided as much as possible. From which the word saying grace came, where we cannot do, offer it to the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna especially said food offered at the funeral services should not be taken by a person seeking divorce. That stands as an obstacle to divorce. That is departed souls, anything offered, called Shraddha food. So purity, food and conduct. Then you seek 4 graces. For devotion you need 4 kinds of grace. So all our prayer, worship should conclude with prayer for grace, with humility. That I do not know anything. Highest devotion is, oh Lord, I am nothing, you are everything. So surrender. So 4 grace, God's grace, grace of the holy, grace of the fellow seekers, devotees. Seeing your humility, earnestness, all should pray for you. Let this person have devotion. You need the blessings of all, whole community of devotees. Finally, the grace of your own mind. So it is a Guru, Krishna, Vaishnava. Even if a person has received all the 3 graces, except for 1 grace, everything can go wrong. That is the grace of your own mind. It must be favorable to you. Your body, mind, nerves, hormones, glands, they must be favorable to your spiritual quest. Those things come as a gift of God. Bhagavad Gita tells us the moment a person makes a right resolve to come toward me, immediately I come into the picture. If you carefully read, 3 words have been used in the Bhagavad Gita: Yogi, Yogeshwara, Yogaskema. Yogeshwara, the goal of yoga is God. Yogi, a person who is following the path. Anybody who is wanting to see God, perceive directly, and not satisfied with the scriptural assurances or of the priests and pastors. He's a yogi. But you cannot progress unless yoga's chemo given to you. Yoga's chemo things favorable for proceeding. A good health, favorable family circumstances, tenacity. These are gifts of God. Then a bhakta should also exercise discrimination and reason, should not give himself to emotion too much. Ramanuja says, anubhasad, anudharsa. With this, he must keep the emotions down as much as possible. So the four graces, they give us yoga's schema, they're gifts of God. All you can do for devotion, what we can do, sincere resolve. All other things are gifts of God. Devotion transforms us completely. It makes the spiritual quest absorbing, truly holy. Devotion says, take the essential. Life is short. Grasp the essential message. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna gives the example, Chaitanya Deva were moving through a town, village. And there was a temple. In the temple he saw a man reciting Bhagavad Gita. Bad accent, not even correct. And large number of people assembled, they were ridiculing him. And he's crying. Chaitanya Deva came, he said, "Sir, what makes you cry?" He said, "As soon as I go to repeat the first verse, I see the Lord in front of me in his chariot. I cannot proceed. And I do not know Sanskrit, I am not a scholar. I do not have that perfection. I do not know mantras, ceremonies. I am a stupid man. But this thing I see, I cannot restrain." Chaitanya Dev embraced the man. He said, "You are truly the devotee who has known the essence of the Bhagavad Gita." So various scriptures, Vedas, Bibles, what they are telling? Love of God. Test the bliss. Second essential. If you pray, meditate, join a mass, worship, have you tested something? If you have not tested, you are not getting any nourishment. You cannot build your spiritual muscle unless you have spiritual nourishment. So Chaitanya Deva said, ruchi, relish. Do you feel relish when you do your prayer? Do you feel intoxicated when you meditate? Do you feel moved? Do you feel attachment to your worship form in some form? Test the bliss. Take your complaints to the highest court, path of devotions. Don't blame the world. Don't blame this person, that person for any inconvenience or difficulty. Take the case to him. Don't take the law by your own hand. As a little child, when hurt or threatened, they run to their father and mother. In the same way, take your case there. Again, I'll draw a story from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, if you probably remember. A scavenger used to come and clean the king's bathroom. In those days, scavengers were untouchable. They would live on the outskirts of the city. But he had a wild dream. Someday the king will visit my hut. Unthinkable. So one day after doing his job, right, seated in the bathroom floor, he lost in thought. King's security men saw. They thought he was making a plot, something. He was arrested, brought to the court. The man with all humility said, Your Majesty, it is my dream that someday you will visit my house. But I am a poor man, live within dirt and filth. I cannot imagine, but I cannot stop this dream. Seeing his earnestness, humility, king became mightily pleased. Immediately the traffic started. First came king's engineers, surveyed. Then came a huge garbage truck. All the dirt, filth collected. Then king's architects came and built a palace. Then king sent sofa, furniture, hubble-bubble and all the decoration. People in that untouchable community thought something is happening. Must be king coming. So before giving you devotion and knowledge, God has to fulfill your desires, clean up our body and mind. For that he sends garbage truck, which we hate, because we have collected a lot of garbage. Then he sends holy company. Holy people begin to come, visit your friendship with them. Then he furnishes you. After that, he appears. So all the things are coming because he is wanting it. That is called yogakskhema. Be a player in the drama, he has said. Play with detachment. You are but a role player. This life will end after some time. This is not a real home. The note of devotion, Swami Vivekananda's song, the first song he sang to Sri Ramakrishna. My mind, return to your own abode. Why you are fruitlessly wandering in this strange land where nobody loves you? They only make pretenses. Nobody can help you. Return there. Be his moving temple. You carry the Lord in your heart. Obstacles to devotion, generally called not having a root. There is no root. Therefore no plant, no flower, no fruit. Lack of spiritual root. There are many people who are casual. Then not hedging around, very painful. Orthodox observances, to put a fence around in the beginning, there is laxity there. Often our social need and spiritual need become same. You put a devotee and a worldly man in the same balance for social necessity. Not observing seva. Your worship is mechanical. Not being loyal to the ideal or loyalty to the instructions. Not maintaining ahara suddhi, purity of diet. Then indulging in evil company. Chaitanya Dev said, Brahma Bhatta na sunibe na kohibe ko. Gossip. One should not listen and not speak. Then be humble like a grass. Be patient like a tree and chant the name of the Lord all the time. Holy Mother Saraswati says, when you chant the name of the Lord, whether mentally, silently or other, ishtam, anishtam, harm cannot come to you. You are guarded by the holy name. And when you regard the holy name which you receive from the teacher is the greatest treasure in life. I'll repeat a story which I several times told you over the years. Once in a village came a holy man. Words went around the holy man is carrying a philosopher's stone. Philosopher's stone turns everything into gold, any metal. It's a mythical stone. In that village used to live a pious man, but very poor. Nothing much to eat. So holy man's wife said that we have this condition, no money, nothing. We are living from hand to mouth. We heard this holy man has come and he has a philosopher's stone. Why don't you go one day taking some pots and pans from the house and get them turned into gold? Pious man said, how can I do that? I feel ashamed to ask this thing. But his wife prevailed. So one day, in the middle of the night, when nobody was there, he was ashamed to ask. He came with few pots and pans from the kitchen. Saluted the holy man. Sir, we are hearing you have a philosopher's stone that turns everything into gold. Holy man said, yes, I have. I do have. Sir, if you please touch my utensils, that will help me. I can sell them and support myself. Holy man said, why not you take this stone itself? He gave the philosopher's stone. The man was beyond his imagination. Now he can turn any metal into gold. But after all, he was a pious man. After he had almost gone home, a question came. And the holy man gave me the entire philosopher's stone. He must have something more valuable than that. Otherwise, he would not give it away. He came back. He said, sir, if you forgive me, I have a question. You must have something more valuable than the philosopher's stone. He said, of course I have. Do you want that? He said, yes, sir. I have the holy name of God. That is more than my philosopher's stone. I'll give you that. But your wife needs the stone to turn pots and pans into gold. Give that philosopher's stone to her. But I am giving you the most valuable thing in this mortal life, the holy name of the Lord. So that is the mark of devotion. When the seed is right, when the plant is nourished by service, hedging, fertilizing, watering, which is the food for the plant, austerity, penance, and persevering, not trying to cut corner, a healthy plant begins to grow. The plant brings flower, brings intoxication, ecstasis. The heart becomes the altar of the divine. Our physical body becomes a moving temple. life becomes blessed. The world becomes forgotten. And Lord becomes captive. To such a person, Sri Krishna in his last message said, I pursue such a devotee all the time, like the dust of his feet. He is my very soul. I protect him, guide him, fulfill his desires. He is already living in the kingdom of God. Thank you. Om Jananing Saradang Deving Ramakrishnan Jagat Gurung Pada Padmetayo Sritva Pranavami Muhur Muhur. We bow down to Mother Sarada and the great Master Ramakrishna. We take refuge at their feet and bow down to them over and over again. Om, peace, peace be unto us and to all living beings.